Hello, love. I'm really kind of struggling to do this video today because it's just so many different ways to address it. Um, there's what I thought I was going to do, and then there's all the things that happen from one video to the next. And it's all related, it all fits together, it all makes sense, really. So I'm gonna attempt this as best I can. It's not gonna be perfect, I don't think, because I keep trying to do it, and it's just a lot of technical difficulties, and you know, there's people that do this better than me. Um, at any rate, um, if you notice the thumbnail for this video this time, it is a side by side comparison. And I ask you as part of your homework assignment to look at the side by side comparison of different embryos. And so the point that I'm trying to make, and and the thumbnail, I think the embryo, if you did do that homework assignment, it's obvious that evolution has been taking place, right? That a knowing, the loving knowing that allows all living things to exist is building on what works. And if it ain't here, it didn't work, right? And so I think the side by side comparison of the tree, the branches of a tree, and the branches of our lungs is so powerful because it shows this continuity of that using what works over billions of years. Like, how long has plant life existed on Earth that uses photosynthesis, where carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, the light of the sun, these things are used to reduce sugars that the body of the plant then uses to function. And the byproduct of that photosynthesis is oxygen that our lungs take in. And then our circulatory system takes the oxygen that is extracted from the respiratory system and takes that oxygen to all the different cells of our body, which those cells need to live. We need oxygen to live. And so it's all connected, it's all clearly by design. Like, this is an amazing, amazing existence. I mean, that there's still, and me having you look these various things up, you begin to see, well, this is not exact. Like, this is what we've gleaned so far. This is what we understand. We estimate that things are this older. We think that this thing happened this time ago. And as we learn and learn more and more and more, sometimes those findings are altered, sometimes they're reinforced. So this is a quest of understanding. And based on what we understand so far, and so much more that we don't, but based on what we understand. So this is what the Lord has done is amazing, right? The other point I'm trying to make is that the life giver, the prevailing high energy consciousness that pervades the universe has been doing this for a very long time. It knows what it's doing, right? So just to put it in perspective, it has been doing this for 1,000,000 years times 1,000 times, maybe do it 6, 7, 8 more times, right? And so when I talk about surrender, it's like, are you surrendered to that knowing? Are you surrendered to the life giver? Are you surrendered to love, to life? Because if you're not surrendered to life, you are a victim of a system that was put in place by beings who have only existed for a few 100,000 years. They overlaid their system on top of Earth, and they called it the world, and they told you you live in the world, and if you believe that, you are participating in your own demise, right? And so, what the need is for at this point, because, like I said in other videos, these beings are just doing what they've always done, and they're panicking, right? And so, when you're panicking, you want to move, you want to do something. They either don't know, don't want to, don't know how to go right. So, they're just gonna continue to go left. And they have an amazing past. And I said before, some of these beings, without the appropriate level of accountability, are not going to get it right. And so the question is, what is it for folks who believe in life, who want to be servants of life, who want to participate in a colony of humanity that is designed to come into balance with Earth? It just makes such perfect sense, right? What is it for those individuals to do at this point? And so surrender is so important because it's in surrendering to that bigger thing that you can muster the courage that it takes to withstand the pressure that the system will put on you to do what it wants you to do. And so we are a colony of individual human beings. And so what individual human beings do is very important. And so what are you doing? Are you on the path of love? Are you choosing to be respectful to other human beings? Are you choosing to do what that commitment requires? Or are you doing what a system would have you do? Because every moment of every day, you are confronted with many, many decisions, many, many interactions with your fellow human beings. And what is driving those interactions? Is it your understanding of being a good citizen of Earth, to be respectful to your fellow human beings? Or are you just doing what a system would have you do so that you can get money, so that you can, right? And so this is the test. This is a test. The universe has allowed these beings to exist on Earth because this is the gift and the curse of coming into a human body, that we can lose insight, lose all connection to the life that is within us, and we can be reduced to just totally being driven by the wants of the body. And what happens to these individuals is that because they are cut off from the experience of their own life, I think that what drives so much of their desire to want to control the lives of others and to have the status of others that they see that do have spiritual gifts. But those spiritual gifts were given to those people because of their purpose and the calling of their life on earth. It is not for the benefit of the trick that these unsophisticated beings have created, right? Um, and so your belief is so important right now. If you believe that that I've tried to give you the evidence, right? I've tried to make this something that you understand. If you believe that there is a knowing that exists, that is beneficent, that is in charge of all this, and so you either are a servant of that life giver, then you're going to be on the path of love to figure out what it is that you're here to do. Um, and so where we are now and why um, people, spiritual, unsophisticated people are in such a panic is because this is a critical period where the lie that the United States is becoming more and more evident. And so they're just doing what they've always done to create chaos and distraction and fear to force people to do what they want people to do. But the whole thing is so ridiculous because once again, if you believe in a life giver and you see that life giver has given you free will, what is it for any other being on earth to try to take that away from you and force you to do what it wants you to do? And so surrender is so important because it gives you the courage, it gives you the conviction and the wherewithal to withstand the pressure, to go beyond the fear and the terror that's been inflicted on you, to do what you need to do in this experience on earth to help us bring about the change that needs to be brought about. And so um you know, I feel like it's been my role in this journey to give the uncompromising perspective because I understand that the roles for different ones of us who are surrendered and in doing what is required at this time in this mission to help us continue to progress into the fourth world, progress into that process of bringing about the fourth world, bringing about a time when humanity is in balance with earth, bringing around what I think will be heaven. We all have a different job to do. And one of my jobs has to give the uncompromising position in all of this. Okay. And so this is an important time, and different people have different jobs that they need to do. And so, based on their understanding of what that is, and I can't judge it, I have to trust my brothers and sisters and what it is that they know that they're to do. I'm going to focus now on giving the uncompromising perspective. And then in the next video, I'm just going to talk about the 23rd Psalm. And so for your homework assignment, I'm going to skip to that right now. For your homework assignment, I want you to look at the 23rd Psalm because in the next video, I'm going to talk about that more, take a deeper, more spiritual um, perspective on, I think, what all of us should be trying to do right now, with the things that will help give us reinforcement in what the right thing to do is at this moment in the history of humanity. And so I'll talk more about the 23rd Psalm later. But in terms of right now and in terms of the events that have recently occurred, we are dealing with beings who don't get it. They don't get it, they don't understand. And so everything is a relationship. And the relationship that you have between your partner, your family member, your neighbor, to the relationship you have with the company that you work for, to the relationship you have with the city that you live, these are all relationships. But the rules of a healthy relationship always apply. Okay. And so we cannot play this game. Well, let me give the uncompromising view. I am not going to play a game with someone who does not understand the entire point of existence. I'm not going to play a game where you're any sort of authority. I'm not going to play a game where uh, it like it's hard for me because it's just so clearly ridiculous. Like all of it is just clearly bullshit, manipulation, and pure ridiculousness. And so I think to be able to interact with people like this, and I don't interact with people like this because it's not a good use of my energy. But the way that I think about it is they're like children. And if you know that you are living your purpose on earth and you are well into your journey on the path of love, you have done the spiritual work, you are trying to live an enlightened life, you are practicing non resistance, you're practicing non judgment, you're practicing non attachment. You are the adult in the room. And so when you were dealing with these sorts of people, they are children. They're like children. They're like irrational children. And so it is not for sophisticated human beings to play into a child's desire to be something that it is not in relation to you. And so there is no size, there is no condition that makes it okay for you to be disrespectful and have no regard for the well-being of other people. And so I'm just trying to give people something to, because this is going to play out the way that it's going to play out. And this is all part of how this is going to work, because we're just moving through a process that the universe has put in place, and it's not going to be based on how we think the shit should go. It's going to be based on how it's going to go, and it's all part of the process, how you respond to the events and people during this part of the journey. But the path of love, the rules that dictate us engaging with one another in a loving, respectful manner always apply. And so it is not for us to get caught up in the manipulations of spiritually unsophisticated people. And so there's two main techniques, 2 points of confusion that they will use. And so, I had you look at the side by side comparison of embryos. The other part of that is that if you look at other animals, and once those animals are born, the period between when that animal can do certain things independently from the time of its birth to that point is so much shorter than it is for human beings, right? Because we have this big brain, we have this big head, it's heavy, we can't walk at first, so we have this different, this whole different experience for us. And and so and again, our feeling being akin to our instincts, right? Another thing is that we don't, the other animals, because they're living through this instinctual knowing, they know what to do, but we have to learn what to do. Okay. And so when you come here, you have to look to the other human beings around you. You look to your family to show you what it is to exist within that family unit, to exist within that community. And then, right, we expand into larger and larger communities to an extent, is the way you could look at it. A larger and larger family. How do I fit into this colony of humanity? And we have to learn. And the way that you learn is through consequence. So when you do something that's positive and good, when you're young, they're looking for the, oh, good job. Yes. So they're looking for that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement. You get maybe a candy or right, you get something that you like to do what you need to do to be healthy and to be a good citizen within your community, ideally, right? And then, of course, when we're not behaving in ways that facilitate those things, then we get a negative consequence. So we either get a pleasurable outcome or we get a painful outcome. And that helps us learn what we're supposed to learn. So those are consequences. It's conditioning. Okay. So what a trickster will do is that he will confuse consequences with abuses. He will give you something pleasurable in response to you doing something that is a benefit to him, but is not necessarily a benefit to you, right? And so he needs to keep you ignorant in order to do that. The other thing that he will do is he will cause confusion between what is accountability and what is disrespect. So if you disrespect me, I have a responsibility to hold you accountable. But what he can do is he can take your accountability and say, oh, you disrespected me. And so now I get to punish you, right? There's accountability and there is punishment. Accountability is a response to disrespectful, to non beneficial behavior, given again the goal of what this is about. And so we've got to not confuse punishment and accountability. We've got to stop confusing consequences with abuse. Okay. Righteous people, they have to give consequences, they have to hold others accountable. And the way that a trickster operates is he uses similar actions, or really he does things that loving righteous people would never do, but he labels those things accountability. He labels those things as, him giving you an appropriate consequence when it's really just abuse. Okay. And so now is the time for mature adults on earth. There now is the time for Ubuntu. That's what a mature human being who understands what this is about, they are Ubuntu. Okay, so it is time for Ubuntu to do what the Creator put them here to do. And it is certainly not to coddle a regress, stunted, Homo sapien in bullshit. Okay. And so, we all have to do that in different ways. And I think that's where we are now. So your homework assignment, I want you to look at the 23rd Psalm and we'll take a deeper dive into surrender. But I think that's good for today. I was really struggling with how to go about this today, but I think that's good. I hope y'all agree. I'm tired. A mess. I didn't even have Vaseline to put on my lips. I know. So, who do I belong to? That's right. I love you so very, 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 very much. We're gonna be fine. This is just what. Oh, you know what I wanted to tell you, and this is one of the moments when things really became crystallized for me. So I had gone through this period. I'd chosen to surrender. I was like, this is a mess. This don't make no fucking sense. But my understanding of nature, my background in biology and human genetics and, psychology at that point. And I was like, what the Lord has done is I'm just every part of it that I learned is just so awe-inspiring and like it's just unbelievable, right? It's just so beautiful and it's in its layered simplicity that becomes complex, but it all makes sense. And just it's amazing. So and it's so logical and it makes so much sense. And so, I had to really begin to, think about, well, what am I doing? Because I'm being prevented from doing what I went and got a PhD for. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm here to use my time, energy, and attention because that's really what we have to offer one another. That's what a system wants from you is your time, energy, and attention to do its agenda and not the agenda of life, right? And so I was like, okay, well, that trick bitch motherfucker is not getting a monicum of my time, energy, and attention. So what am I doing? And so I really had to look to nature. I had to look to um, and rely more on my inherent knowing and understanding. And I'm going through all sort of things um, that in some ways enhance that knowing and understanding in a response to the pressures that are being put on me. And so I really, in earnest, began to consider surrender in a different way, and really made that choice. Okay, I'm going to surrender to the life giver, and I'm going to do what I think the life giver would have me do. And it had nothing to do with a system called the called the United States, but I call the United Divided States. It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. Um, and so I had made this decision. So this is like around 200 to 200, 2008, 9. Um, just very early dive into that sort of thinking, which is then it creates a lot of conflict. It creates a lot of uncertainty, and you get a lot of pushback when you do that sort of thing. So, I've been dealing with that. And, the 23rd Psalm will be very informative um, in relation to what happens when you go ahead and you surrender and you say, the Lord is my shepherd, right? And around that time was the earthquake in Haiti. So this is like 2010, 2010. And so I've gone through some madness, which is unsettling. And so, there's the talk of the valley, and you like, what am I supposed to do? But it's all preparation. It's all preparation. So I'd gone through some things at that point. And so I remember the earthquake had occurred in Haiti, and they, on the ground reporting. And I wasn't even looking at the television, but I heard it. And so, the reporter is interviewing this Haitian female, and her, English is not her country's language, not her first language. But she says, when you do good, you get good. And when you do bad, you get bad. And that was like, oh, okay. She know. She's seen some things. She knows the people and what happened. And I was like, okay. And so when we see these, once again, these tragedies, the ways in which the ill-intended will try to apply pressure to get you to bend to his will, at the end of the day, this is all a process of those who do good will get good, and those who do bad, sometimes the universe uses those who would do bad. Um, and the people that are going to get bad, they get the bad, right? And so that's part of what is going on here. And then again, as I said before too, it's part of it is preparation. Part of it is when you make that decision to surrender, you have to be prepared for the job that the Creator put you here to do. And so the Lord has just been waiting for you to agree to let Him shepherd you, right? Um, and so, just one other thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot about in this video, and I saw something where someone was talking about, um, you know, the next candidates that run for president and what they should be, the platform that they should be running on and all of this. So much of what has gotten us in this mess is that these ill-intended folk are looking for a way to control the masses. And during World War II, they developed the atomic bomb, right? They developed nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons became a thing. And so this is sort of the thing that's been held over the head of humanity, that they have the capacity to basically destroy humanity with their nuclear bombs. And so I think if there was anything a candidate should run on, it should be on disarmament to get rid of nuclear weapons. Because I think that's what's got people in such a compromised state is that they know that these motherfuckers control the capacity to destroy humanity. We know they're evil enough to do it, but we can't be motivated by that. We can't, because that just feeds into the whole reason why they developed that in the first place. And it's not to say that when before I talked about through the fire, it's not to say that maybe that's not what through the fire is. That if they are so sick that they would do such a thing, I believe that maybe that's what it is. It those people that would survive that sort of thing are the people that are here to stay, and those that can and won't aren't. Um, but I ain't worried about it. I've been through hell. I'm expecting heaven. Yes. So, yeah. Again, I love you, and I'll check in with you later. Oh, and doing your homework assignment. Look at the 23rd song. I love you. Bye bye.